Both Scott Morrison and Anthony Albanese have stumbled this week. Sometimes we forget that they're just human. Despite of this, do you think Anthony Albanese has the experience to be the next Prime Minister of this country? And after the debate last night, do you think who is ahead among these two?
Arthur, thank you. And there's a bit in that question. We'll get to the stumbles and the experience, but Arthur mentions they're both human. They certainly are. Anthony Albanese, tonight we've learnt, he's told us that he does have COVID. He's isolating for a week now, right in the middle of the election campaign. Murray Watt, I need to point out that you spent a fair bit of time with him earlier this week, but you have tested negative today for COVID, so we appreciate that. But how's he going, first up?
Thanks, David, and greetings to everyone in the audience. I obviously just heard this news myself just before I was coming over from my hotel, so it was a little bit of a surprise. Yeah. And I want to assure everyone that I did spend 3 days with Anthony up until a day or so ago, but I have done a rapid test and it's all clear. And hopefully it'll stay that way. So obviously I wish Anthony well in his recovery. I've seen his statement saying that he's going to be isolating at home and he's feeling fine.
How are you feeling? It's a setback for the campaign, isn't it?
Oh, look, I think it's another sign that we live in an unpredictable world with COVID, and it's a sign that COVID is not over. I think a lot of us have been sort of thinking for a while that COVID is something that's in the past, but this is another reminder that it's a reality. But we've been planning for this kind of scenario for a long time. It was always something that might happen. It could happen to either side.
So what happens under the plan? I mean, he's stuck at home, but does someone else continue with the travelling around? Richard Marles, Jim Chalmers, someone else?
Yeah, well, we'll have a bit more to say tomorrow about the details of exactly how we're going to manage that. But as I say, we have been planning for it for a while. Similar things happen in the US.
So there's not going to be a tussle between various Labor front benches over who?
No. Well, this is one of the benefits of having a strong and united team. We have any number of people who are ready to step up and support Albo. I sent him a message earlier myself, wishing him well and saying we're going to do him proud, and I'm sure all of my colleagues will do that.
Okay, but you've war-gamed all of this. You've got.
Yeah, there's been a lot of planning going to exactly this kind of scenario.
Well, Keith, Pitt, what do you reckon about this development? The Prime Minister had COVID a month or so before the campaign began, but what does it mean now that one of the leaders, this is the two men vying to be Prime Minister, one of them's now knocked out in isolation for a week?
Well, firstly, I want to congratulate the ABC, which I'm sure that's not something you expected to hear.
Always happy.
How good is it to see you actually out of Sydney, in central Queensland, in Gladstone? So I don't think it should take an election campaign to make that happen.
Great to be here.
But to your point, David, I mean, this is just, it's what's happening to everyday Australians every single day. And we know it's challenging, we know it's been difficult. And as the questioner said earlier, we are human, this is what happens.
Yeah. I'm
triple vaccinated, I've had COVID, 2 rat tests this week. But in terms of the question, I'm sorry, I actually missed the debate. I was on an aeroplane. It's a very long way from Perth to Darwin.
Well, we'll get into some of it, but Arthur's question goes to some of the stumbles. Let me ask, perhaps you, Bronwyn, because last week Anthony Albanese didn't know the unemployment rate. Last night at the debate, the Sky News debate, it was the Prime Minister who used this phrase about a kid with autism and talked about being blessed that his own girls didn't have that challenge. He's apologised for any offence caused today. What do you think about these sorts of gaffes, stumbles, whatever you want to call them? How much do they matter?
Well, people can get distracted by the gaffes. I mean, it's one person, and Arthur's right. People make mistakes. We're all human. Those mistakes can happen to any of us. One of us could be really nervous tonight and stumble even over our words. I could do it. You could do it. The host could do it. I would hope the host doesn't do it. But I want to be really focused on the policy platform. I want to know what the policies are that is behind the parties in terms of when I go to cast my vote at the election poll, I'm going to be focused on that party or those individuals or that candidates and what they stand for. What do they support and what they don't support? What are they going to... And just in terms of COVID, you're right, Keith, COVID is not over. We see people in the audience here wearing the masks.
Yep.
I know very much that people have that front and centre. Even a week and a half ago, I was in Cairns and Yarrabah to affirm the Uluru Statement from the Heart in terms of constitutional enshrinement of a voice to Parliament. Before we got on buses to go to Yarrabah from Cairns. We undertook RAT tests. So communities are taking steps themselves in regards to
It's
COVID.
becoming a way of life,
That's
isn't
correct.
it? Let me, Amanda, come back to this question around stumbles that Arthur mentions, how much they matter, and specifically he was asking whether Anthony Albanese has the experience for the top job. What do you think?
Yeah, my first reaction was, it's tough. It must be really tough on the campaign trail. They're in multiple places all the time. And they've got to have their heads across so many different things. But it was interesting, I had an insight this week preparing for this. This is my first big show like this. And, I've got friends with a lot more media experience, and everyone wanted to give me advice around how to frame the message for everybody.
You're in politics, mate, I can tell you now. There's no shortage on advice.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, don't say this, make sure you get this in, use this stat, don't say that. And I thought, wow, politicians must be getting that 100 times worse. But you know what happened? And it's like, it's almost like a performance. You have to remember your lines. And so you're going to mess that up every so often. But the problem is, I think, and I'm feeling this whenever I do a lot of work in communities, there's such scepticism now when they're hearing those lines, because it's so much focus on the message instead of the substance. And I think sometimes it gets lost when we're trying, in the world of social media, have the perfect message for everybody.
Bob Catter, you've been around politics for a while. You've seen leaders stumble and make gaffes and so on. Do they matter in the end?
I think that Anthony getting COVID, he probably wished he had it a week ago. Scott Morrison's been opening a few times, wished he'd had it as well. Look, I think, there's two things that leap to my mind with the leadership. And I said to Anthony Albanese once, I said, why are you different? I didn't have to explain to him what I meant by that. He said, because I worked for 3 years labouring before I went to university. That was exactly, what gives him that magical common touch. Having said that, Scott Morrison, very courageously on Good Friday last year, made a stand for Christianity. And as a Christian, I feel we're a persecuted minority group, and whether that's right or not, that's the way I feel. And I thought it was very courageous of him to stand up as he did on Good Friday last year.
What did you think of his comment last night about kids with a disability? Did it strike you as anything offensive?
Oh, look, there's 1,000 times any politician would make a remark that was wrong, and I'm not going to go over some of them that I have friends of mine that have said something that was misinterpreted, and just the persecution that took place so unfairly, and that's my reflection upon the comments.
What did you think, Murray? What?
In terms of the debate generally,
No, just on this point of what the PM
look,
said.
I think it was a bit of an insensitive remark, and certainly friends of mine who have children with autism took it that way. As Anthony said in his press conference today, he thinks, and I think most of us think, that every child is blessed and every parent is blessed. And
well, the PM, in fairness, did say that again today. He agrees with that. He apologised.
He cleaned it up today. I accept that, but I think it was a bit of an unfortunate sort of remark, and I think it made a lot of people feel pretty uncomfortable. In terms of the stumbles and gaffes and things like that, I think that was one of the things I found most interesting about the debate last night, was that not one question from the audience was about that. All of the questions from the audience were actually about their daily challenges, whether it be housing affordability or aged care or their job or their health care and things like that. And it made me wonder whether all of us in politics, the media included, might be a little bit too obsessed with the gotcha moments and things like that, when I reckon if you spoke to most people in the crowd here tonight, that's not what they're thinking about either.
It did show people want substance.